Hey everybody, this is Glenn,
And this is Kevin.
and we are two reasonable guys.
Yes, we are.
All right, so we are back for part two of 80s cult sci-fi horror movies. Are they really good movies?
Or are they trash?
Or do we just like them because we just have a fondness in our heart for them for whatever reason?
I think the phrase I overused in part one was nostalgia-colored glasses.
Okay, yeah, I think so.
Or just nostalgia, right? Because that's what it really comes down to. Like, are these good films? Or do we just, like you said, have fond memories?
All right, we have a ton of movies.
Ton of good movies. I'm really excited. There's a lot of my favorites on this list.
There's a ton of my favorites, and then there's, I think, one or two that I could really care less about. But
That's fair.
let's start with a really good one. So our first one, by the way, part one, you could find, we covered, I think it was 9 movies from 1980 to
82, I think. 82 is the last one.
to 82, right?
Yeah.
So this our first movie this time around is 1984's, and I have to take a deep breath before I say the title.
Yeah.
The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. It's a very long.
This movie is ridiculous.
This movie is bizarre.
It's truly. I think it's the most bizarre movie on this list.
No, I think there's one other movie that is as bizarre or more bizarre than this one.
I know what you're going to say. That's a fair point.
But that movie is, and it came out the same year, but it's way better than this one, at least as a film.
Yes.
Obviously, I love this film. I love it probably for the same reason that you love it, is because it's just it's just so ridiculous and silly. And that's like reason one. But reason two is it's the cast.
Mm-hmm.
It has all the right. It's like watching the movie Clue, right? Clue is not the greatest movie, but it has all the great sort of 80s comedians.
Yes. The chemistry that erupts from that movie is hilarious.
Yeah. And so I've read that's become a real huge cult movie. It's not sci-fi or horror, so it's not on our list, but I appreciate that film. So the cast, same. We have, of course, Peter Weller of RoboCop fame, Ellen Barkin, John Lithgow, Jeff Goldblum, of course, Christopher Lloyd, and then Clancy Brown, who I know we all love. Clancy Brown, for those of you who are not familiar with his name, played the Kurgan in Highlander, and also played I forget the character name, but he played the head prison guard in Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, I don't know his name either, but he's like the chief asshole in that movie.
And he was also in great. HBO's Carnival as like a kind of a psychotic kind of priest.
He's been like all over the place. He does a lot of voice work.
He's in a lot.
He does Mr. Krabs, right, from
Yeah, that's the weird one. Yeah, he's Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob.
It's kind of out of place. I mean, he's in
and he's the one that sings the theme of SpongeBob. Oh, who lives in a pipe? That's Clancy Brown. So the Kurgan and the guy who sings the SpongeBob theme are the same guy. It's kind of wild.
That tracks. As far as this movie goes, that tracks. That's how weird this movie is.
Yes. So you want to sum up the plot as best you can?
All right, I'm gonna screw
seconds?
This up because I've only seen this movie a couple times. But so we've got Buckaroo Banzai, who's played by Peter Weller, who is Glenn, correct me if I'm wrong, he is a rock star, neurosurgeon, scientist. Correct?
Yeah, I think he's like a nuclear physicist,
something
scientist.
Like that. Something that way out. He's got to do with like like a theoretical physicist, something like that. And he invents or is testing some sort of engine that ends up opening a gateway to the 8th dimension.
Yeah, I think it's called the overthruster.
That's it, the overthruster.
Right.
And there's this weird montage in the beginning of the movie where he's operating on a patient and then gets called by his band members because he's late to go test out the overthruster. They try to like smash together the 3 facets of his character in one scene. And it's just one of the reasons I think this movie's hilarious is because shit like that happens throughout the movie.
Yeah, and Clancy Brown and Jeff Goldblum are part of his, I don't even know what to call it. They're like some weird Avengers superhero group and also a rock band.
Yes,
and
that's it. No, you nailed it.
I don't know.
No, you nailed it. That's it. They're like rock band first, but like they're his running crew, right? They just do shit together.
Don't you think the greatest? I'm gonna blow everyone's mind. The greatest movie would be if somehow they did a crossover film with everybody from Buckaroo Banzai and everybody from Tank Girl. Like if somehow Tank Girl and Buckaroo Banzai, like there was a crossover. Like, wouldn't that be the weirdest ass movie? For those of you who don't know, the Tank Girl movie with Lori Petty, which is
man. That's another weird movie. But that's also like after like an anime or a comic, right? So that's gonna be weird.
Well, so is Buckaroo Banzai. Buckaroo Banzai is based. Oh, absolutely.
I did not know that. I thought this was some like pet project, like Remo Williams or something like that.
Right. Which I'm surprised we don't have this on this list, but I don't know if it's a cult classic.
I just may have uncovered yet another movie that should be on this list, but it's all right.
So the only thing he did say is he tests the overthruster, and I guess he punches a hole to another dimension, and these weird aliens, I guess, find out that, oh, look, Earth is through this thing, and then now these weird aliens, sort of led by John Lithgow, who really chews the shit out of the scenery in every film, but he's awesome. He's just like so over the top
in this, but he's great.
But
he's like super Lithgow, like the way he plays crazy, like he really just, I think he hams it up, and I think it works, like because he's a really good actor.
He's like Lithgow on lithium in this.
Lithium Gow.
Yeah, exactly. So the plot, is basically now we got to defeat the aliens before they, I guess, destroy the Earth or come through the portal or something like that. It's just weird. I mean, I'm just going to say the movie, I think I love it, but the movie's really, really bad. Oh, by the way, we didn't cover this. Its budget was $12 million. Its box office was $6.3 million.
So big fail, right? That's
huge fail.
Huge fail.
But it has a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is good.
That right there is called classic, right? Loses money, but slowly gains a following.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, I love the movie. I think ultimately it's stupid. It's a really bad movie. Yeah. I think most people would probably, if you made them watch it, would not really even be able to get through it or even follow it. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it's a complicated plot. For like an action sci-fi 80s flick. I think the plot was pretty complicated, but yeah, I agree with that.
All right. If all business is done on Buckaroo Banzai,
Fun fact about Buckaroo Banzai: it was supposed to be a follow-up movie, and it never happened.
That's right. That was like the crime. What was it?
Buckaroo Banzai. Something with
the World Crime Guild,
something
or something
like World Crime League, and the World
goes
Crime
after
League.
the world.
I'm gonna look it up. I'll look it up later, but it's something with it's like Buckaroo Banzai takes on the World Crime League or something like that.
Yeah, and people, there was actually recently going to be, they wanted to do a Buckaroo Banzai series, I think, on Netflix, and apparently there's a lot of red tape as far as the rights and who owns what, and so it's not happening really.
That's weird that like an old cult classic like that is locked up in.
Stuff like that happens.
It's probably not as weird as I'm making it out to be. It's probably a lot of them are probably like that.
Yeah. All right, so our next film is Dune from 1984. Now, I don't know if I wanted this film on the list or if you did.
I think I might have, because if not, just to say that I hate it.
Now, I looked it up, and there are a lot of websites, articles that do classify this as a cult classic, although I don't think the numbers reflect that criteria. Only 53% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is not.
No, it's not.
The public doesn't really love this film.
Well, I think that reflects a score of like it's a good bad movie. Because I actually just saw this movie last month. I was, back when we could actually go and hang out with people.
Right.
We watched this movie, and it was just. I mean, it was me. David Lynch directed it, and that should tell you pretty much all you need to know about why I'm speaking like this and why I'm saying this movie is weird, because it was. I mean, any David Lynch flick. This is basically Eraserhead if Eraserhead was in space. I'm sorry, it was in space on a planet and had sandworms. That's what the movie was.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily blame David Lynch.
No, but I think he had he definitely had a piece of it. But yeah, I wouldn't blame him either.
I mean, I haven't read the book. I know the book is 35,000 pages long. There's too much. I think there's too much plot to fit into a movie. Again, it suffers from being confusing. I have to admit, I have never watched this movie from beginning to end straightforward. I've probably seen every scene at some point because it'll be on sci-fi. I'll turn it on. I'll watch it for 15, 20 minutes. I'll get bored. I'll shut it off. So I guess it's probably not fair that I say that I think the movie's terrible, but again, I have to rate it as terrible because it's a film I really can't watch from beginning to end. I get bored and I have to turn it off. But everybody who I know who has read the book, and it's a whole series of books by Frank Herbert.
Yep.
I heard the book is genius.
Yeah, I have admittedly not read the book either, but I need to get on that because I heard the book is iconic.
And I believe they're remaking it. I think it's scheduled to come out in 2021.
Yeah. I think who's doing it? I looked this up when it first came to light, and I was very happy with what I found, and now I just can't remember. I forgot who's doing it.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember either. So, good movie, bad movie?
I'm going to say it's a bad movie.
Yeah, I think we could all agree.
It is it's got a lot of really cool quotes. And I'm pretty sure most of them are from the book, but I mean, it's got Kyle MacLachlan, Sting. It's got some pretty
it's like an all-star cast.
It's got a pretty powerful cast. I think Max von Sydow's in there somewhere, but I'm not certain. Oh, and Sir Patrick Stewart is Gurney Halleck. I mean, come on. Got to at least give it that.
And Dean Stockwell, from Quantum Leap fame. And then Brad Dourif, who basically plays slimy Weasley types in basically every film.
Yeah, he was Wormtongue. He was that serial murderer in Star Trek Voyager.
That's correct. He was like that. He was a Betazoid serial murderer, and he was also He was that weird scientist in Alien Resurrection, like experimenting on aliens. Remember, he like licks the glass and stuff. He's like completely.
I thankfully don't remember a lot about that movie, and that's not what
I like that movie, but it's in the wrong decade for us to discuss right now.
Yeah.
So all right, yeah, Dune.
Thumbs down on Dune.
Oh, did we mention the budget? Budget was $45 million, and it made $31 million. So obviously that's
big numbers for 1984.
That's a financial failure.
Yeah.
That's a huge budget and a big failure. All right, our next film is Repo Man from 1984. This is a tiny little independent film. I'd wager to guess that the 16 people who listen to our podcast, most of them have not seen this movie or might not even know what this film is.
You should. It's good.
It's probably one of the best films on the list.
Yeah.
It isn't particularly sci-fi. There's a lot of sci-fi. There's one basic sci-fi element in it.
Okay, yeah.
But if you think about it, most of it kind of rolls. Basically, the plot is, all right, so we have Emilio Estevez, Harry Dean Stanton. They're basically the leads in this. And Emilio Estevez is like this young sort of punk rocker type kid. This is probably one of his first films, if not his first, I don't know. And basically, he loses his job, and then he kind of stumbles in. Harry Dean Stanton talks him into becoming kind of tricks him into becoming a repo man to go, repo cars when people don't make their payments. And then the whole plot centers around a car that has something in the trunk. We don't know what, but anybody who opens the trunk basically gets immediately disintegrated.
Right.
So it's some kind of weird alien thing in the trunk, and this weird scientist is driving this car around. And basically, the government's trying to find the car. And I think there's like a ridiculous price. Like if a repo man, gets it, he gets like 25 G's.
Yeah,
so
something
all the
like
repo
that.
men
20 or 25 G's. So it's like this. Yeah. It's like this golden goose for repo men.
Right. And none of the repo men know there's anything weird in the trunk. They're just like, it's weird that this old crap car has got this huge price on it, but they all want to find it. They all want to bring it in and get the money. But it's like Slacker.
Yeah. No,
Slacker
you're right.
vibe.
Most of it's
Pulp
not
Fiction
sci-fi.
kind of a vibe to it.
It's just kind of them stumbling. Not really, they're kind of hopping from minor plot point to minor plot point, looking for this car, and then getting some character development in there. And it's like I said, it's an indie movie, and the budget was $1.5 million.
Yeah,
so that's like nothing, But it did make money at the box office. The box office was $3.7 million. It's not terrible.
Yeah, so I mean, it didn't make any money, but it certainly made money. It didn't lose money, and it was produced by Mike Nesmith of the Monkees band.
I never, when you told me that, it kind of blew my mind. Like,
which is crazy. Weird, and I think they filmed like one scene. They needed money to finish it. I think Alex Cox, who was the director, knew Mike Nesmith, and he showed him the scene, and then Mike Nesmith was like, "I'll give you the money. I like this." I think Iggy Pop did the theme song. It's a very punk rocky kind of a thing. Oh, Tracy Walter is in it, who I'm not that familiar with his name. I had to look it up, but he's the guy who played in '89 Batman. He played the Joker's sidekick who didn't really say much.
Oh, that's his name, Tracy Walter.
Tracy Walter, yeah. He's also
much. He was Bob. You're my number one, a guy. So he's in a bunch of stuff. He is in Silence of the Lambs. He's in Conan the Destroyer.
Conan the Destroyer. That's
Malik.
He's the thief in Conan the Destroyer.
What are we, a charitable institution? Yeah, man. Tracy Walter.
Yeah,
I never knew that guy. I always knew him as that guy. I never knew his name. That's great.
Yeah. He's cool. One of the he's like that 80s character actor who he's always in it.
Right.
You'll watch a movie. Oh, he's in it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Bit parts, right? Like, okay.
Yeah. But he usually plays like, ne'er-do-wells, homeless people.
Yeah.
Somebody on the street,
Yeah, I mean,
kind of a guy.
Said, a character actor, right?
Yeah, he's a great character actor.
So I think this is a legitimately good movie, and I didn't realize that the Rotten Tomato score was 98. That's nuts.
That's insane. I mean, no, they teach this film. The first time I saw this film was in film school.
Really?
They teach this film in film school. It's like a cult commentary on 80s society and punk rock culture and young angst and capitalism and the man. There's like, you could write term papers on this thing. I think
it's a good thing you mentioned that, because there's another movie on this list that does the same thing, and I was gonna.
That's right.
That up, but it's awesome.
Yeah, we'll
brought that up.
I think that's the last movie on our list, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that this was such a commentary on the times. That's nuts.
Well, if you remember, like, all the products in it are just white and say drink and say beer.
You're right. You're absolutely right. It was like all no frill stuff.
Yeah, because they were trying to tell. Yeah, there's a lot of sort of anti-capitalist, anti-commercialism kind of messaging in it, counterculture kind of stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the ending is a little weird.
It is a little weird.
A little anticlimactic. But overall, I would rate this as a very good film, and I would say anybody who's studying film or likes film you absolutely watch this movie.
It's like the ending's kind of like Time Bandits. Remember we discussed it. I think we both agreed it was a pretty good movie, but the ending just kind of went flat. And this is kind of similar.
And some weird stuff I found online.
Okay.
First of all, apparently Jimmy Buffett has a cameo in it.
What?
Like Jimmy Buffett was friends with Mike Nesmith.
Okay.
And like at the very, very end, he's like a FBI photographer. They say it's like a blink and you miss it sort of. Yeah, but
it's so weird.
It is. It's very, very weird.
He must have been in the room when Mike Nesmith agreed to finance that scene, and he's like, "Yeah, Jimmy would be in the movie too." And then Alex Cox is probably like, "Oh, okay."
Why not?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But yeah, Wild. I definitely love this film.
Yeah, no, good flick.
All right, so our next film
Yes.
is, and again, this is another one of those films where when I look it up, it says it's a cult classic, but its Rotten Tomato score I think is the worst on this list.
So pay no attention to that score. This movie is great.
It's Legend, 1985's Legend, directed by Ridley Scott of Alien fame and other amazing movie fame.
Gladiator, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of amazing films.
Yeah.
Starring Tom Cruise and his wanky, ganky teeth before he got them fixed.
Very young Tom Cruise. I think he might have been 19 or something like that.
This definitely wasn't his first film.
No, it was early. It was like very, very early Tom Cruise. I don't think it was his first either.
I think it definitely wasn't. I know Risky Business was 1983, and that might have been his first film. Okay. No, when was The Outsiders? Wasn't he in The Outsiders too?
Outsiders.
Don't matter. We don't.
I don't know if he was in The Outsiders, but I haven't seen that movie in like 25 years.
I thought he was in The Outsiders. I thought he was in it. Mia Sara is in it from
Ferris
Peterson.
Bueller's Day Off. It's the only other movie I know her from.
I know. I think she was in like one other film or two others that might have been fairly popular, but I can't remember what that film was. Tim Curry plays Darkness.
Just Darkness, not the devil, not Lord Darkness. Darkness.
Exactly. But he looks like a Megadeth album cover. He's like the cliched devil is what he looks like with the cloven hooves and everything.
Yep. Practical effects. The suit he wears is outstanding.
It's awesome. Yeah. And Tim Curry. You don't even know it's Tim Curry.
5.5 hours of makeup to put that on.
And the truth of the matter, they distort his voice. So I'll be honest. I remember when I saw the film the first time, I had no clue it was Tim Curry until the credits rolled. And then I'm like, that's Tim Curry?
Me neither.
You would never know.
He's so caked in prosthetic that you can't tell.
And of course, the greatest little person actor that ever lived, Billy Barty. Is in this as well.
You know, it's funny because in part one, you'd said that if Billy Barty's going to be in a movie, he pretty much eats up the little person budget, and there was only like one or two other little people in this movie. So I think he did it. He did it again. They needed to spend that Billy Barty money.
He's the only one. Yeah, they had to have him.
There was two or three, depending on if the character who plays one of the fairies, Gump. I don't know if he was a little person or if he was just a kid. I don't know.
I think it was a child, and then they overdubbed the voice.
He looked like it. Yes, you're right. Because he looks exactly like a child, but he's got a weird voice.
Yeah, they overdub it with they have like a woman overdub the voice, so it seems like kind of more ethereal or whatever. And then the music was interesting, and I think you were the one that tuned me in to the fact that there was two different soundtracks to the film, depending on where you saw it.
So the American theatrical release was the soundtrack was by Tangerine Dream, and it was more than just like weird electro 80s sci-fi music. It was a totally different cut of the movie, because in the director's cut, and I think to some extent the European cut, which I didn't see, the director's cut uses a fully orchestrated score by Jerry Goldsmith, and it's like a totally different movie. It's got additional scenes. The scenes are in a different order. It completely changes the feel of the movie.
Well, and when I looked this up online, because the Rotten Tomatoes score was so small, it said it was the release of the director's cut in the U.S. was what sort of started making this film become more of a cult classic. I think more Americans saw it in that version and were like, you know what? This is a way better film.
It is. It is a much better movie because I don't know about you, and I probably ignored this because I was a kid when I saw it, but if you watch the American theatrical release, there's just certain things that are going on, certain scenes that you could tell they were cut up. You know, it wasn't seamless. It was a little confusing in some parts, but you know, as a kid sitting at home watching this, I just kind of let it slide because you had this wild fantasy flick. Like the movie looked fantastic. A lot of practical effects.
This is, I think, the first film to introduce having a lot of shit floating in the air all the time.
There was no clean air shots. It was always dust or there's a lot of glitter in this movie.
Yeah, they did that a lot in Dark Crystal too. I think
space dust and glitter was everywhere.
There's a lot of ambient nonsense float, and it was a lot. That was the weird part too. All of a sudden, like, you know, Tom Cruise would have glitter all over him. I'm like, did he just get back from the Unicorn Strip Club? Why does he have all that glitter on him?
That was a cut scene. Unicorn Strip.
Oh,
Club.
That's right. He got a lap dance from a unicorn.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
What else is there to do in a mystical jungle?
Nothing. Yeah, especially Mia Sara's gone and fucked off. I mean, what else is he going to do?
Exactly. She left him for Darkness.
Yeah.
You know, so
he's
got to do what he's got to do.
And it's Tim Curry.
What's he supposed to do? Get a lap dance from Billy Barty? No.
Yeah,
the unicorn was the only option.
Anyway, I love this movie. I think it's cool. The whole good versus evil thing. It's a super heavy fantasy. It doesn't shove a lot of plot down your throat. It kind of lets you figure stuff out on your own, and that like feeds into my obsession with world building. Like I thought it was a very cool setting that they built.
Yeah, and to me, it's got a very sort of never-ending story kind of look and feel and vibe to it.
Sure, I think it's even more. It's even more than that because the lighting is all weird. Yeah, even in the scenes where they're above ground, it's always like a twilight, or there's like really good use of shadow and stuff. I still think it's very good. I think this movie holds up. It is a little strange because it's super heavy fantasy, but I dig it. I love this movie.
Yeah, and the plot basically is evil wants to take over the world and put it into eternal darkness. And in order to do that, he's got to kill the only two unicorns, who I guess are like the old guardians of the light. And if the two unicorns are killed, then he takes over.
Yep. Eternal darkness, right? So he sends out his minions, who one of them is a goblin whose prosthetic they modeled after Keith Richards, I believe.
Is that the one that rhymes all the time? Yeah, fire, fire, Blix. Burning bright.
The character's name is Blix, and I think it's voiced by a woman. And if you really look at her,
it's voiced by the same. It's voiced by the same woman as the boy that we're talking about. The
before. Gump, yeah. I think she may have voiced done a third voice in the movie too.
Again, Billy Barty took too much of the budget.
Listen, he deserved it. Billy Barty was the man in that movie.
Yes, he always is. He's the man in every movie.
We're ignoring the most important cast in that movie, though.
What?
Meg Mucklebones.
Oh, that's right.
She's like a lake hag who they have to get past to get to this rotted tree, which is the portal to the underworld. So Tom Cruise just found some armor and a shield and a sword, and he's all geared up, ready to go on his quest. And they try
very Clash of the Titans kind of
pretty much off. Yeah. And he's navigating this swamp, and he gets accosted by this hag, and it is Robert Picardo from Star Trek, from Inner Space.
Yep.
And it's very weird that it's Robert Picardo.
It is weird, but he did a nice job. That creature was also very weird and drippy, but the practical effects were
fully
good,
animatronic. I think I'm pretty sure this was a Jim Henson's Creature Shop production, because they had a couple other things that were like all over the place.
I'm not sure about that, but it's possible. So, what do you think? Do you think this is a good movie?
I think it's a good movie. I think the director's cut is a good movie. The American theatrical version is a guilty pleasure. I think they cleaned it up in the director's cut. I think it's a serviceable movie, a serviceable heavy fantasy movie. It's a little hard for me to be totally objective because I really, really like this movie. It like checks a lot of my boxes,
Yeah, I would say overall it's probably not the greatest movie, but like you said, there's not a lot of like sort of straight up fantasy films with fairies and unicorns, and like there really isn't a lot of that out there. No. And this kind of has all that, so it filled a void, and I think it did a pretty good job. Yeah. So I would say it's definitely worth a watch. It's good. Again, Rotten Tomatoes score of 38%. Budget $24.5 million.
It tanked.
Box office $23.5. It's
all right. That's not terrible.
Break even-ish. But no, I disagree with the Rotten Tomatoes at 30%. I would say, and again, maybe that 38% is the Tangerine Dream US one, and if people saw the theatrical cut with the orchestral music and the extended scenes, maybe that number would go up. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth a watch.
It is.
All right, our next film, I know.
Oh boy, another one of my
worship
favorites.
This movie.
Hell yeah.
Is Big Trouble in Little China from 1986. Budget $25 million. Box office only $11.1 million. So a colossal box office failure. Directed by John Carpenter, another John Carpenter film on our list. Starring Kurt Russell, Kim Cattrall, Dennis Dunn. I said Dung. Dennis Dunn.
Oh, why'd you do that?
James Hong, again, James Hong, if you need an Asian character actor, you call him. He takes all the Asian character actor money. He's the one you hire, and he's in every movie when you need an Asian character actor.
Yeah, and I believe he's still working too.
He is still alive. I think
in like his late 80s, still working, still alive, still kicking.
Yeah, he still is.
Good for him.
He's phenomenal. So Rotten Tomatoes score 77%. I thought it would be a lot higher than that. I think as a cult film, I thought those numbers would be way up, but for whatever reason, they are not. I love the movie. I mean, you want to give a rundown of what this movie's about for those who may not have seen it?
Oh, man.
As best you can.
Okay. So it's essentially a Western-themed, cowboy rides into town, but instead of the Old West, you've got 80s San Francisco, Chinatown, and you've got main character Wang Chi, played by Donald Dunn, and his best bud
Dennis Dunn.
Jesus
Dennis
Christ.
Dunn. You're thinking of Donald Duck Dunn.
Am I?
From the Blues Brothers movie.
Is that what I was thinking of?
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Had to have been. So his best bud Jack Burton rolls into town, a trucker, and they basically kind of stumble into an ancient conflict, Chinese mystical conflict. Wang is anxiously awaiting his girlfriend to come from China so they can get married. Jack's just kind of there. His girlfriend, Miao Yin, gets kidnapped by a street gang called the Lords of Death. Great name for a gang. Like I said, they just kind of Forrest Gump their way into this whole scenario where there is an ancient evil sorcerer named David Lopan, and he is
played by James Hong.
He's essentially a ghost. He was a big deal thousands of years ago. He was defeated, and he was cursed to be this ancient evil spirit. So, and the only way he can become flesh and blood and rule the world is to find a girl with green eyes and marry her,
and then kill her.
And then, and that's the whole, and then kill her, right? So he's got a quest of his own, and that's a part of it. And it essentially just kind of boils down to action film martial arts spoof.
It is, but if you think, you didn't really mention this, but it's very much like an Alice in Wonderland Wizard of Oz thing, because you've got Kurt Russell as the extremely machismo Dorothy, and then he's just going about his business, and next thing you know, he's being pulled into this strange, mystical, magical world with creatures and monsters and magic, and he's got to sort of like deal with it.
Which he does slowly but surely. He just kind of goes with the flow. But one of the best things is Jack Burton, played by Kurt Russell. He's got this way about him. He pretty much hits as often as he misses, and he's got like this maximum confidence, but only like mediocre ability, right? But he rides that. He rides that.
He's
hard.
He's kind of Ash Williams. Mm-hmm. He's kind of that same.
Yes, he is. He's very Ash. But I think as we discussed last time, Ash overall is kind of an asshole.
Yeah, and I guess Jack Burton is not.
Burton's a bit softer. Like when push comes to shove. I mean, he's got that gruff machismo exterior, but I think Burton's a bit softer.
Yeah, he doesn't waste any time. He gets right to the point. He's not particularly courteous.
No,
but he's not an asshole.
Right.
Really.
Not really.
But yeah, I mean, it's a great character. It's a fun movie. It's got a lot of great martial arts and a lot of great magic, and it's goofy and silly again. It's a John Carpenter film, so it's got those practical effects that I'm sure it's the same dude who did the practical effects for The Thing. I have to assume, because it really does look like it. I hope I'm not wrong. But yeah, I mean, I think most people, if they saw this film, I think they would get a real kick out of it and enjoy it. I think it's a fun romp.
It is a fun romp. There's a lot of like behind the scenes stuff about this movie too. Like it got rushed because it came out the same summer as The Golden Child. It was originally,
which also had Victor Wong.
It did have. Oh yeah, you're right. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This screenplay was rewritten by the guy who directed or wrote or both. It was W.D. Richter, the guy who did Buckaroo Banzai, and that was a whole story in itself. Like this movie, the original script, written by Gary Goldman and I think his name is David Weinstein. Sure, we'll go with that. David Weinstein. It was originally a Western. like like I said before, cowboy kind of role. They wanted it to be like that ancient Weird West, like that not often heard from genre of mystical Western.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then it didn't fly. Like no one wanted to touch it. So apparently W.D. Richter comes in, rewrites the script, and it's pretty much what, the script's pretty much what is what the movie is now. Carpenter made some changes, but it's pretty much what the script doctor ordered.
All right, so he kind of saved it and got the film made.
I think he saved it. I've been looking for the original script and I have not found it. I haven't really looked very hard, but I'd be interested to see what the original script was all about.
Yeah, I would too.
Maybe how bad it was. But yeah, this is this movie. It was rushed. Like it didn't have a big effects budget. I'm pretty sure the effects for the Guardian, that little Lopan's floating eye Guardian, that might have been the bulk of the effects budget, right? Because that's the only real.
Yeah, because they have this other kind of werewolfy Bigfoot guy, but it's pretty cheesy.
It's the guy in a suit. Literally just a guy in a suit. There was nothing like really spectacular, but I think his name in the credits is the Monster. But
the Monster.
I mean, there's also a board game that just came out like last year. Yeah, we played it together. I think that
it's awesome.
It's a straight shout out to everything about the movie. Total labor of love. I recommend it. And also there were comics made by Boom Comics that pick up where the story left off in the movie.
You love this. You love this movie a lot. I feel like you want to mirror this film.
I really like this movie. There's a lot of nostalgia for this movie, but it's also super fun. It doesn't take itself seriously. It knows exactly what it is, and it gets the job done. I'm pretty sure I just got the yet another Blu-ray release of this movie, and it's got a ton of interviews on it, which I want to sit down and watch.
And I think they're doing not a reboot, but a sequel with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
That's been a rumor for years. At first it was going to be a remake, and then they said it was going to be a sequel. I have no idea what's going on. I don't think you should touch this movie at all. But
I would like to see. I would like them to revisit
fun,
it.
But don't No, don't. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter, right? It's not going to ruin this movie. This movie is and will always be. So.
Yeah, but like I said, we've talked in the past how much we like world building. So it would just be more fun if it was a sequel.
Yeah, it would be great if it was a sequel.
Because they said Dwayne Johnson would not play Jack Burton. He'd play a different character. But then I hope that they would have at least a cameo from Kurt Russell as Jack Burton, but hopefully have him in it a little bit more than just a cameo.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Dennis Dunn isn't really doing much. Call him.
Probably not.
James Hong will probably do something. He'll probably reprise his role as David Lopan. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah, but they better make this movie quick. I mean, I know he's an old dude.
It's on his schedule, right? Yeah, man. So yeah, I give this movie. I mean, if you couldn't figure it out by now, two big thumbs up. Big fan of this movie.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of fun. All right, next film. I also love this film a lot too. I think Kevin does too. Is Highlander from 1986. $16 million budget, only made $12.9 million in the box office, and the Rotten Tomatoes score was a meager 69%, which I think I don't understand.
That kind of makes sense. It's a little low, but I still think it makes more sense than Legends 38.
I don't know. When I first saw this movie, it hooked me hard. I was really, I was on the edge of my seat. I just was like, this is a really interesting concept, and the way they tell the movie. If you don't know about this movie, it's about a guy. Well, it's basically about one guy who's an immortal who's been living since, I guess, I don't know, the 10th century or the 9th century.
No, he's like 400 years old or something like that.
No, it's more than that, because I think he's from Scotland, and I think it said like 1120 AD. Yeah, when they show him back in Scotland, where he learns that he can't die and he's immortal. But then he learns that there's a race of immortals. Basically, Sean Connery, in a wonderful, flamboyant role, who's also an immortal, shows up and basically explains to Christopher Lambert, the Highlander, that he's immortal. There's a race of immortals, and basically they all have to kill each other till till there's only one left.
Right.
Because there can be only one. And that last one sort of, I don't know, gains all this power.
Yeah, they're pretty. They don't really explain what happens when you're the one. They just say like you unlock the secrets of the universe. I don't even know. It's very vague.
But it's sort of like, yeah, but what I love about it is they sort of show Christopher Lambert's character McCloud in the present day, and then they flash back to sort of fill in his whole backstory, how he learned he was an immortal, and it's those flashbacks. I love that balance of the plot going on, because the cops are looking for him because they think he's a murderer and he's cutting people's heads off. And then Clancy Brown plays the evil Kurgan, who's an immortal, who's one of the biggest badasses in any film. Could only be played by Clancy Brown. It's perfect. Yeah, it's really hard to explain the film, but it's just it's basically immortals trying to hunt each other and be the last one. And when the movie starts, I think there's only maybe 5 or 6 left. So we're sort of at the climax. And then, I mean, it's a cool movie.
Cool sword fight scenes. Clancy Brown as the Kurgan is a really cool character. This movie's pretty quotable. Music is done by Queen. So there's that.
I forgot that.
And also, fun fact: there's a part where, what's his name? Christopher Lambert's character, Connor McCloud. He's got some shit to work through, and he goes into a bar, and that bar is Pete McManus, and it's on the corner of 19th Street and 7th Avenue in Manhattan. And I used to work right down the block from there, and that is a great bar.
That's awesome.
That bar's been in a bunch. It was in that movie Keeping the Faith with Ed Norton and Ben Stiller. I think it was also in that movie The Wrong Guys with Marky Mark and Will Ferrell. I think there's like a stupid bar scene in that movie. Yeah, it is a really cool bar, and it was something I had picked up in one of my many rewatches of this movie. I dig this movie too. I think it's very, very cool. It's got the character development and also world building.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, the Queen soundtrack, the action, the story. Sean Connery is awesome in it. So I would rate this high. I think most people would really like it.
Yeah, no, this is. We're not even going to talk about the sequels because there were none.
Yeah, they're worthless.
I don't even consider. I just say there were none.
No, and you should.
Conversation over.
I agree.
But yeah, good flick.
Our next film is Labyrinth from 1986. Jim Henson joint.
Yep.
I think it was Jennifer Connelly's first movie. Features David Bowie in a Tina Turner wig and a giant cod piece.
Doing contact juggling.
Exactly, doing contact, which they had to hire someone else to do because he couldn't do it.
And I'm pretty sure that most of the scenes was like stunt hands, right?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, it's an Alice in Wonderland movie with Muppets. So it was directed by Jim Henson. It's got a lot of Muppets in it. Not when I say Muppets, it doesn't have Kermit and Miss Piggy, but it has a lot of
it's got
creatures and things made by the Muppets people.
Puppet Muppet.
It was weird. It was written by Terry Jones, the Python, the Monty Python, one of the Monty Python players, which I didn't realize that, but I thought that'd be interesting to mention. $25 million budget, big. Only a $12.9 million rake-in at the box office, which is awful. That's a horrible failure.
Yeah, it is.
But 71% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's a whole Alice in Wonderland. Basically, it's again, the plot makes no sense. David Bowie's this weird.
The guy is the Goblin King. I thought he was the weirdest part of the movie, and this is kind of a weird movie.
It is a very weird movie. I know your wife loves this movie.
Yeah, she does. She likes it a lot. I don't like it nearly as much. I
don't really like it at all. I think it's really again, I don't know. It's just I get the same. It's like I like Dark Crystal a lot more.
Yeah, well, Dark Crystal's got a lot more substance. This movie's just kind of there.
There's really not much going on. It's got some forced David Bowie musical numbers in it, and David Bowie steals a baby. I don't remember why he steals a baby, but I guess it's Jennifer Connelly's
younger brother,
little brother, and so she has to go rescue him. And So she, kind of Alice in Wonderlands into this weird mystical world. And then actually it's more like Wizard of Oz because like she goes in.
Even like Time Bandits, right? Time Bandits with a lack of little people, right?
I mean, there's definitely some little people in here, but there's more puppets.
I forgot that there is a pretty cool, there's a riddle in this movie that's actually pretty awesome.
What is the riddle? I don't
It was
remember.
The whole thing, it was two, my wife tells me about this all the time and I always screw it up, but it was a gate and there were two guards. It's like one guard always lies and the other one always tells the truth. And you have to ask one question to figure out which is which or something like that.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was that's like a cool, nice little brain teaser to have in a kid's movie.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, like you said, it's a kid's movie. Way more than Dark Crystal was a kid's movie.
Yeah.
But it's, I would say, I think it's terrible. I've watched it a couple of times because basically nothing else was on and it's kind of just fun to watch, but there's not much going on here.
I mean, I'm not,
it's like watching a train wreck. It's like watching
I don't dislike it as much as you, and I'm not that big of a fan.
Right. So we both give it it's a bad movie rating.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Unlike the next movie, I was going to say unlike this next movie.
Yeah, we saved the best of the worst for last. Well, it just so happens it came out in 1988, so it's at the end of our list. And it's a John Carpenter film yet again. So it's They Live, starring Rowdy Roddy Piper of WWF wrestling fame. $4 million budget. I mean, it's so weird to see a John Carpenter film with such a small budget. It's almost like an independent film. Not a box office failure. It made $13 million from a $4 million budget. So it's actually a success. It's probably one of the most successful films on this list.
It might have had something to do. I remember reading that after Big Trouble in China lost so much money, John Carpenter became...
The studios didn't...
Well, I was more like that John Carpenter kind of became disillusioned with big budget Hollywood films. So I think he kind of retreated into making more indie style movies, and this was the first one he made afterwards. I think I might be getting some facts wrong, but I think that's the direction that he went after, losing all that dosh on Big Trouble.
And I could not believe that the Rotten Tomato score on this is 86%.
I can believe it. This is a great movie. This movie's got a lot of substance in it.
The way I describe this movie is it's a porno movie without any sex in it.
Technically, this movie is not that great, right? Because it is shot very weird. It's got almost no soundtrack. It's got that weird, regular music. It's almost like I don't want to say porn music, but it is kind of like porn music.
Well, let me explain the concept. The concept is Roddy Piper basically plays a drifter.
Yeah.
And he finds these sunglasses, and then when he puts them on, he realizes that a certain percentage of the people have weird skull alien faces, and that the television and the billboards all have different meanings on it. Like they say consume and
reproduce, buy, obey, don't question authority. It's all these subliminal messages everywhere.
So it turns out there's this alien race that's trying to undermine human society secretly. But some scientist, I guess, made these glasses that could show their true form and show how they're kind of brainwashing everybody.
Right.
And I guess Roddy Piper wants to do something about it.
I think he just kind of goes into what the fuck mode, and then just has this, because I feel like he's just got nothing to lose. So he just feels like I don't even know. I'm not really sure as to his motivation. I guess he just has plot direction. And says, I guess I'm the good guy and I have to go.
I guess so. And then there's weird stuff in it, like Keith David, who I know you love.
Oh, yeah.
Is in this, who was also in The Thing.
Yep.
And basically, Roddy Piper wants him to put on a pair of sunglasses, and he won't do it.
It's a 5.5-minute fight scene, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a huge fight scene just thrown into dumpsters just to put their glasses on. It is a great fight. It
was parodied in South Park. It was supposed to be a homage to the fight scene in The Quiet Man with John Wayne.
I figured it was so extended because Roddy Piper was a wrestler. They figured he knows how to do this stuff.
Because he threw a couple suplexes in there, I remember. So I guess they wanted to show off that he was... Because this is like Roddy Piper in I guess this is near prime. I mean, it's the late 80s. So I would put him.
It's kind of toward the end of his reign.
Still though, the guy he's looking damn good in this movie. So
he's fine. Yeah. I mean, again, he acts the way you think Roddy Piper could act. He's not the worst actor in the world, but this film doesn't really require anything. It ain't Shakespeare.
Some of his delivery is a little weird, but he does say one of the more iconic quotable lines, and that's "I've come to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum," which was later paraphrased by Duke Nukem. But I mean, that's a great line. Can't deny
that line. Yeah, everybody knows that line. I think most people don't know where it came from originally, but it came from
movie.
They Live.
Yep, this movie, 1988.
And then I had to write it down because I forgot. George Buck Flower. This is, you don't know him by name, but he plays. So he plays that sort of homeless guy in this film that later on they see at that event at the end in the tuxedo, right?
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about.
But what I put him in here is he's the same guy who plays crazy drunk driver pedestrian in Back to the Future. Here. Yeah, because he plays like a homeless hobo in this film,
Brett?
And he plays a homeless hobo in Back to the Future. Yeah, George Buck Flower. Look him up on the old IMDb, and maybe you'll recognize him. But that's why I put him in here.
I think
he basically plays the same character.
I think his name and his bum character in Back to the Future has a name. I think it's Brett or it's something with.
No, I think it's Red.
Red. That makes more sense. I think it is. I think you're right.
Yeah, I wouldn't name a homeless character Brett. It just doesn't seem to really. Red sounds better.
You know what? Now that you mention it, that doesn't make any sense. Hey, Brett, the homeless guy. No, yeah, it's stupid.
So again, I will say this. My final word on this film is I love the film. It's just so ridiculous and silly and bizarre and low budget. And it looks like me and you made it with a video camera. It's just.
Yes,
and it's got a pro wrestler in it. So I love this film. I think it's probably one of the worst movies on this list.
Dude, I have to disagree with you. This movie is great. It was all right. So this is what I know about this movie. It was based on a short story called 8 o'clock in the morning. Right, and it's the story is essentially the same thing, except it's got, instead of sunglasses, I think it's got a laser or something in it. But it's a super short story.
Okay.
And this movie is essentially just the same way that Repo Man was a call out to kind of like the sign of the times. This movie was all about Reaganomics. I mean, look at
it. Like Repo Man, anti-capitalism, anti.
And I think there are a few lines in this movie that are essentially saying that the aliens are just almost like an invading corporation. You know, they see it. I think the line is like they see it as a third world planet. They see us as a natural resource. It's something like that. You know, and it's poignant, you know, and I think a lot. I think that I haven't found this anywhere written down or spoken, but I sincerely believe that this movie was an inspiration for The Matrix.
I think you're being very fair to this movie. I think it would be like me making an argument that, you know, Debbie Does Dallas is really about the plight of teenagers who take a bad turn, and we should, you know, it's a porno. Let's not kid ourselves. So I kind of feel, even though you could read into, I don't know, I think it's laid on a little too thick, laid on a little too obvious. I don't think there's really any subtlety or subtext to it.
It flows into the like the commercialization and the consumerism that we saw in the 80s.
Yeah, and like Roddy Piper's acting, that message is bashed over your head with a baseball bat.
It is super heavy-handed. Yeah, I will give you that.
But again, I think everybody should watch this movie at least once. It's worth it.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. That was the last of our films. I think real quick, Kev, you had a
real quick honorable mention. I think I'll just do one. The other one, I'll do them both. The other one's really quick. I wanted to talk about Krull, which is a super weird sci-fi fantasy flick from 1983. The movie is essentially, it almost watches and reads like a D&D campaign. Big budget, like $27 million. The box office, $16.9 million. So it was a failure. But it did star Liam Neeson and Robbie Coltrane. And if you guys don't know who Robbie Coltrane is, it is Hagrid. Super early for him. Actually, he's He's probably been around a long time, so I don't exactly know how early. But it's the first movie I saw him in.
I never saw this, but I definitely have to watch it. What's your second film?
Second one was a movie called Near Dark,
which I've never heard of.
It's like it's a vampire flick. Came out around like that vampire craze where, like, Lost Boys. I think it came out in 1986 or 1987. And it starred the late great Bill Paxton as a vampire, Lance Henriksen. Who the hell else was in this movie? Oh, Jeanette Goldstein from T2 and Aliens. And it was directed. Speaking of Aliens, it was directed by Catherine Bigelow, who eventually married James Cameron, who directed Aliens. So it did share a few actors, Lance Henriksen, Paxton, and Goldstein, that were in both of these movies. I saw it once when I was a kid. It was a cool vampire flick. I've been meaning to rewatch it. I would consider this movie a cult classic because it does have a cult following. I don't know what the score is on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think it's that great. Check out both of those movies. They're I think they have a place somewhere on this list.
All right, cool. All right, so that's the end of part 2.
Yep.
That wraps it up. Again, go back and listen to part 1 if you missed that one. Obviously, if you think we missed any films that we should have been on this list, let us know in the comments.
There's got to be some. There was so many wild sci-fi fantasy flicks in the 80s.
Please list them if you think there's some films we missed and we should watch, or we should mention maybe in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing I want to, we're kind of getting a little better at this. We now sort of have maximum exposure on the podcast. So instead of just listening to us on YouTube or on Buzzsprout, we're now on Apple Podcasts, on Deezer, on Spotify, and soon to be on a lot of other places where you normally get podcasts. So you'll be able to listen to us in whatever manner you wish to listen to us, since we're on all of those platforms. So please do. Please download and
go for it. And like Glenn said, if there's anything that you think we missed, let us know. Any topics that you guys feel like we could give the good old college try to, let us know.
Absolutely. Yep. Awesome.
Cool.
All right. That's it. We'll see you soon.
Yep.
Until then, I'm Glenn.
And I'm Kevin.
And we are 2 reasonable guys. See you next time.
See you guys. Take care.